Welcome everyone, Mark and Rochelle here, and we are so glad that you're joining us. This is probably the only service where we've invited you to join us not in person, but we are so glad that you're here online with us because we want to give our volunteers that have helped so faithfully over our Christmas Eve services, just give them a little bit of a rest.
Yes, it's true. And I love that this morning we're gathering with people from all over the Bay Area, united from each of our campuses in one shared experience. For the next 30 minutes, we'll come together from different living rooms to reflect on and celebrate the past year while anticipating all that God has in store for the year ahead.
I'm super excited, and we'd love for you to say hi and tell us where you're joining from. So if you could type that into the chat and let us know, and we're going to go ahead and kick off this service together.
Menlo Church, we hope you're doing well. We're so happy that we get to be here all together. I know that we are in different living rooms across the Bay Area, but we get to be here together online for this one Sunday. If you are hanging out with family and they're watching it, or you're seeing somewhere this online for the first time, we are so happy that you're with us. Today we're going to sing and worship together and reflect on what a great year this has been for our church. So we hope you can join us as we worship our God together.
The only way for me. It's a narrow road that leads to life, but I wanna be on it. It's a narrow road, but the mercy is wide, 'cause you're good on your promise. I'll take you at your word. If you said it, I'll believe it. I've seen how good it works. If you started, you'll complete it. I'll take you at your word. You spoke and the chaos fell in line. I know, because I've seen it in my life. It's a narrow road that leads to life, but I wanna be on it. It's a narrow road and the tide is high, but you part of the waters. I'll take you at your word. If you said it, I'll believe it. I've seen how good it works. If you started, you'll complete it. I'll take you at your word. If you said it, I'll believe it. I've seen how good it works. If you started, you'll complete it. I'll take you at your word. You're good on your promise. You said your love will never give up. You said your grace is always enough. You said your heart will never forget or forsake me. You said I'm saved, you called me yours. You said my future's full of your hope. You never fail, so I know that you'll never fail me. 'Cause you said your love will never give up. You said your grace is always enough. You said your heart will never forget or forsake me. You said I'm saved, you call me yours. You said my future's full of your hope. You never fail, so I know that you'll never fail me.
Hey, Menlo Church, so glad to be with you as we continue our kind of unique year-end online service. I'm here with Chris and Yvonne today, and I am so excited for you to hear their story and a little bit of what God has been up to in their life. So first of all, thank you for letting us invade your home with a bunch of camera equipment. Really appreciate that. But if people have never met you, maybe give them a sense of who are you, how long you've been at Menlo, how long have you guys been married? I'm assuming based on how old you are, just a couple years, newlyweds. But give us a sense for people that maybe don't know you of an introduction.
Sure. So we've been married about 28 years. We have 4 kids. We have a girl and 3 boys. Our middle kids are identical twins. And the 3 older ones are in college. So yes, it's been an interesting path, and just watching them grow up. Yeah.
Obviously, you have 4 kids, 3 in college. Life and seasons and change over the course of the last few years have been wild for everybody. But maybe talk a little bit as you kind of think about this last season, maybe even this last year. What have those key transitions been, and what's that been like to experience as a best family?
I think it's the realization that with 4 kids, you parent them 4 different ways. They communicate 4 different ways. You're disciplined 4 different ways. And for us, it's that learning where, as a parent, every time you get used to one phase of parenting, you think you've kind of stamped that mark, and then you have to relearn everything all new again. And so for us, that was compressed in this kind of high school / college phase. It was a challenge. And looking back on it now, we've certainly learned a lot. But God's blessed us along the way with somehow knowing the right things to say at the right time, even though while we're going through it, it just seemed like pure chaos or stress or whatever.
Yvonne, how about for you as you think about the season of parenting that you've been in, making some of those key transitions? What's that been like for you?
Well, this past year was especially crazy with the twins just applying for college, not getting in where they thought they would or where they thought they wanted to, and then finally ending up in, just the right place for them. So I think, like a friend said to us, college is like a parking space. You just need one. And they really landed where they are thriving and where they really feel like they belong.
If you were talking to maybe a junior in high school or a senior in high school who heard you say that, and they're like, easy for you to say, what encouragement might you give them in the midst of like applying or waiting for responses, or maybe still waiting for that one parking spot to open up?
Yeah, it's hard to just keep hoping and praying and knowing that God has a place for you. Because literally one of our boys didn't hear until the very last college. He did not get into any place until the very last, chance that he had to make it into a California school, which he really wanted to stay in the state. So,
yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So even if that's you right now and you're like, I'm not sure, keep trusting, keep believing. There is a path forward. And, I think we get fixated on what that has to be, right? But to hear that story is hopefully encouraging. Have there been any parts of it in the last year that you would say, hey, this has been uniquely stretching for us and we're navigating and kind of still in the process of learning how to adjust in this season?
Yeah, I think, just teenage years, right? They're not easy. So a lot of times you're dealing with the emotions, the mental toll, the school pressures, everything. And that's why I'm truly thankful for, I have some brothers in Menlo, right? That people you can phone 24/7. And it just seems that the opportune times that I would get a text message that said, hey, brother, I'm praying for you. And I just want you to know that when thinking about you, that was probably a regular occurrence throughout, and it was just God's timing. But to have that network of brothers and sisters that you knew were praying for you, and to get through and provide wisdom, because as a parent, I can't, this, like, you sit there and you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to navigate this. But yet, through the passage of time and tripping a few times yourselves, you just kind of bring the kids along the way. And like Yvonne said, it's just rewarding to look back now and to see them kind of blossoming is a new phase of life for us. We're still going through it, and I don't want to at least give any impression that we're done, we're finished, and we wrote the book. But it's I think for the parents out there going through the preteen and teen years, as someone who is just kind of looking back now, it's a joyful kind of blessing to look at how God kind of has shaped us and pushed us along the way to get us through that.
So if you were to talk to somebody that maybe is going through a really discouraging time, maybe you roll back a few years and you think about facing some of that uncertainty yourself, and you're going, well, I hope somebody texts me, or I hope I find the right book, or I hope my son or daughter figures this out. And they're in the midst of, maybe even it's career oriented. They just don't know how they're going to get through what they're going through. In a lot of ways, you all are on the other side of a bunch of that. But what might you kind of encourage your younger self with? Because there's some younger yous that are watching this right now. How much you encourage them that there is still hope ahead, even if they can't feel it right now?
I think for me, it's getting past the pride of not wanting to ask for help. Because when you do, it's really opens the door for your friends to minister to you, right? And we all want to pretend that life is great, and marriage is great, and kids are great, parenting's great. But at the end of the day, what we do know is that everyone that we walk around with, and I used to tell people I worked with this all the time, is just assume everyone is hurting in some way, shape, or form, and we're just all really good at covering it up. But when you find those key people, maybe it's a life group, maybe it's your trusted friends, and you open that door for help, something amazing happens when they can sit down with you and just, in a sense, sit in the mud with you. And that taught me that when it became my turn to do the same for another friend, that it wasn't about giving advice or giving the right answers. It was about sitting in the mud with him and just kind of traveling that path with him. And so it was a learning experience as well.
That's a good word. Chris, obviously, over the course of the last season, you've had some professional changes as well. So if people don't know any of that or know you, if you wouldn't mind, maybe give us a sense or a look into kind of that part of your story as well.
Sure. So I spent almost 3 decades at the Mountain View Police Department. So, hey, Mountain View campus. And it was my calling. I knew since I was a kid that I wanted to be a police officer. And a few years ago, as I was in my second year as a police chief, the sheriff at the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office offered me a job as their number 2. So after a lot of prayer consideration, I kind of left the family that I knew and moved over to the sheriff's office. But after a year and a half there, I kind of noticed it wasn't the right fit. So professionally, I kind of had to make a decision about kind of stepping out into the unknown of retired life. And I joke about retired. It's not really retired. It's more like a transition into consultant, change of life, working from home. But that has been an interesting journey, just kind of relearning so many new things that I had taken for granted in a career that was everything that I knew at that point.
I wonder for you as a person and for your family, how has kind of that transition from a career in law enforcement to like work from home consult, like how has this change been felt? I'm sure that there are probably ups and downs, but any look in you guys can give us on how that's felt?
It takes time to switch that off, to beat that feeling of being on call. And I remember Yvonne kind of pulling me aside about a month into retirement, where she goes, you're retired, right? And I thought, oh, okay. So right at that minute, I went into my schedule and blocked out every Wednesday. And so from now on, Wednesday's date day. It's interesting because you get into this work mindset for so long that that's all you know, and to take a step back and transition back into almost like a dating and just having fun and enjoying a place without the benefit of having the pressure of time, and you always have to be at a moment's notice being whisked away somewhere.
What you're describing, we can all feel. And even if you're not, like if for you go, I'm decades away from retirement. I think the rhythm of a Wednesday for you all, or rhythm of however people create it, is so important to just remind our soul that like that pace is not the pace we're always designed to run at. If you were to think about, you've experienced this change over the last, year and several years professionally, and you were to project forward, what are you hoping or praying personally as a couple or as a family you get to see or experience? What are you saying, God, this is where we would love for you to show up? Is it more of the same? Is it something different? What are you hoping for in the year to come?
You know, with parenting, you always hope that you've baked them just right, that they make the best decisions moving forward. And this is the phase of life where you feel like you can suggest, but you can't really command or order someone to make certain decisions. So for us right now, obviously, as 3 of the 4 kids are kind of right on that precipice of just going out there into the world, it's exciting. It's a little terrifying too, to just kind of, one of our kids is out in Texas for school. So he's had to grow up really fast, and we've seen it. Like, he just makes grown-up decisions. And, for us, that's just this kind of, you could put it by faith. I know one of them is considering a career in the Air Force and potentially law enforcement. So it sounds hypocritical for me to say, well,
don't do it.
yeah, it might be dangerous. But then that's where, you step back and go, well, if God's calling him to go, then that's the safest place he can be.
Yeah, there have been so many changes, and I think that just makes us pray more. I mean, just knowing that God's the one that's with them all the time, that we can't be there physically, but I mean, they can just count on God to take care of them and to lead them and to make the right decisions.
I really appreciate you guys being willing to give us a look into the season that you're in. And I think, Kristen, you and I have interacted multiple times. I think if you don't know this family, you guys are so understated, like just low key, you'd never know. But you guys are a force of faith at Menlo, and we are so tremendously thankful for you. And a story like yours can give people a lot of hope who are going through something right now that they don't see the finish line for. So thanks for being faithful. Thanks for trusting God in the middle of all of this. And thanks for inviting us into your home to talk about it.
Thank you.
Of course. Thanks so much, Menlo. Thanks for joining us. God bless you. See you soon. Well, hey, Menlo, so glad to be with you. Thanks for spending part of your weekend in this kind of unique church at home experience. I am here today with Rico and Ann Rosales, longtime Menlo Church family. So thanks so much for welcoming us in your home and all of our stuff as well. Really appreciate that. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about, like life and transition in real life examples. And so Ann and Rico are going to tell us a little bit about their story, and then I'm going to ask some follow-up questions. We'll just see where the conversation goes. So Ann, Rico, maybe give us a little bit of a sense of how long have you been at Menlo? Tell us about yourselves, as much or as little as you want. Pretend it's only a conversation with me. Forget that thousands of people are watching.
No sweat. No problem. We've been at Menlo since 1988 when I came to business school at Stanford. And we came to Menlo Park because we needed a place that would take our dog. We couldn't live on campus, and we had great friends here who Rico knew from college, Peter and Deb Kilner, who let us stay with them and invited us to go to church with them. And we went, and we thought Menlo was kind of big, but then we started meeting some people who were other young couples, and we ended up staying, and we've been here all that time.
Tell us a little bit, how long have you guys been married? Maybe even how did you meet?
We've been married 36 years now, 38 years.
Uh-oh.
And we met when I was in law school and Ann was in college back east. And we've been in California, however, for 36 years.
That's awesome. Well, if we were to sort of narrow the focus to the last year,
Yeah.
what are some surprises in the season that you're in where you'd say, man, God has really shown up in a unique way in our relationship or in our life circumstances, or even sort of this renewal or understanding of your purpose outside of work or outside of maybe the season that you were in of, full-time caretaker at, like, what have been some surprising blessings that you've discovered in the last year?
A surprising joy that I've had for this past year is being closer to two good friends of ours, Bob and Dottie King, ages 88 and 89, longtime members of the church. And I visit with Bob and Dottie pretty much every day.
Yeah.
And I've known Dottie since we were on session together over 30 years ago, and Bob has been my walking buddy for over 25 years. And
We've traveled a lot with them.
yeah, we've traveled with them, and it's been a real blessing for me and really given me a lot of purpose as well to walk alongside of them at this stage of their life. And it's brought me a lot of joy, and I think it's brought them a lot of joy as well.
Yeah, that's great. How about for you, Ann?
Well, continuing on this relationship theme with the older friends and the younger friends, I think one surprising thing that happened to us just recently was that our house was broken into while we were out of town the weekend after Thanksgiving. It was a very quick hit. They came in through a bedroom window. They stole our safe with all of my jewelry, inherited and otherwise, as well as all my costume jewelry, except for what, I had with me. And, the surprising part of all of this was that it just hasn't bothered us very much. And instead of feeling violated and devastated and down in the dumps about all of this, we really feel like, people are what matter. And that stuff is just stuff. It's been a real gift from God, I think, that neither of us has felt particularly downcast. And me in particular, because I didn't even take his fake Rolex watch. It took nothing from him. And but anyways, it's just been a very big surprise to us that this has not been a huge thing.
I want to double click on that. You talked about how you've experienced losing things now, which is amazing. And I think that's probably not just because you're Ann, but because you're Ann in this season of life. So if you could go give advice to 25-year-old Ann, and there are some 25-year-old Anns and Andrews that are joining us today, what advice might you give them as you think about like living open-handed with stuff that was your stuff and then all of a sudden is gone? Right. What advice might you give someone else?
Yeah, it does. I mean, you've worked really hard. You've bought this thing for yourself, or you've given a loved one something, and then it gets taken. It's like, what does that mean? And I think it's easy to kind of just say, oh, well, you just have to live open-handed with all of your things, and they're just yours temporarily. But I didn't actually care about the items that were lost. I cared about the people who gave those things to me. I wanted to give my daughter the earrings that I wore at her wedding. I was hoping to give them to her, and frankly, she probably she wouldn't like them anyway. To me, it would have been special. So that's what mattered to me. And I was like, guess what? I don't have that stuff anymore, but I've got those memories, and those people are still in my life, or else they're loved ones who are now with Jesus. And that's the important part of it. Yeah. That's what matters.
Well, I've got maybe one more question that I'd love to ask. And that is, if you were thinking about this next year, over the course of the next 12 months, if you are praying for, this is how I hope God shows up, this is what I hope will happen in the next 12 months, how much you answer that question?
I would like to be introduced to even more people, right? I feel as if the last 40 years have been so all-consuming with work, right? And while I have wanted to profess that my identity is really as a believer and someone charged to bring others to Christ, I think I did a pretty lousy job for it when I was, working as hard as I did. And, when I think about the next 20 years, I'd like that to change, and starting with next year, and there being opportunities for me to come alongside people and if possible, to share the gospel with them.
Yeah. Is this a good time for me to tell you that we put your cell phone number in?
Sunscreen.
Call me.
That's great. Yeah, I think that's a good word. Maybe as a follow-up to you, just to think about for that person who's, somebody that, young professional woman, young professional guy, their peak career right now, they're hearing what you just said, and they're like, what he's describing is me. And they're wondering, do I have to wait till I retire to invest in those relationships, to know people, to have the discoveries that you're having right now? What advice might you give to that mid-career person asking that kind of question?
We have always been blessed by being surrounded by people in small groups through our young couples group at Menlo Church when we first moved here in 1988. And the small group that Ann and I are a part of, in addition to the young couples group that we host, has been together for over 20 years. And our group is called You People, because it's like, hey, we're each other's people, right? And so find somebody. That's the advice, even if you're busy. And by the way, everybody in that group is busy, but find somebody, find some way to connect with another person, another group, whatever, to travel this season of life with, and do it as best you can, because you'll get more than you give.
All right, and you've had some time to think about it.
Right, yeah, hopefully. No, I think that the younger version of me was very involved in the community. I had a lot of relationships. I did things with people at school, other moms, etc. And, now that the kids are gone, I'm back to this idea of purpose. I'm looking for the common thread to say, oh, this is what I do, or this is what unites all of that. That's the kind of thing that I think is also relevant for women of different ages is, I'm spending a lot of time taking care of the kids now. I know that that's like a good thing to do, but like where is the where in that? Where is the what? And that's, that can be hard.
Yeah. Well, and I think whether your mid-career is mid-career with kids at home, or mid-career high-powered attorney,
or mid-career with in your career and with kids, which is insane.
I mean, I think there's a good word to say, wherever I am, let me be all there. And this idea of bifurcation that I think sometimes happens, it's like, well, I can't do this at work, or I can't do this with my kids. I have to come up with something more. And what if God is simply saying, no, like I've placed you with the people that are around you in the season that you're in. It's okay for that to be enough, because you're enough and I'm with you in the middle. Right. So I think that's a great word. Well, I really appreciate the conversation. I know that there are going to be people where they're going to hear this and they go, wow, I'm not fully gone. Like I hear pieces of myself in Ann and Rico, and they're not perfect, but they've weathered some of the storms I feel like I'm in right now. So thanks for that gift. Thanks for letting us come and invade your home. And I hope for you, as you've invested a few minutes in, there's a way that you're thinking about the next year, not just in terms of some New Year's resolutions that, by the way, statistically, you will have given up on in just a few weeks anyway, but in terms of New Year rhythms that you're committing to for the kind of hope and really commitments that we've talked about today. So from Menlo Church to you, Happy New Year, and we will see you again next weekend. God bless.
Happy New Year.
Bless God in the sanctuary, bless God in the fields of plenty, bless God in the darkest valley. Every chance I get, I bless your name. Bless God when my hands are empty, bless God with the praise that cost me. Bless God when nobody's watching. Every chance I get, I bless your name. Bless God when nothing's forming. Bless God when the walls are falling. Bless God 'cause He goes before me. Every chance I get, I bless your name. Bless God for He holds the victory. Bless God for He's always with me. Bless God for He's always worthy. Every chance I get, I bless your name. Every chance I get, I bless His grace. Come on and lift up your holy hands. He is worthy of all our praise. Yes, He's worthy of all our praise.
Thanks so much for joining us today. As we approach the close of this year, we've experienced a year full of emotions, challenges, joys. Thanks for being flexible this weekend as we give so many dedicated volunteers at Menlo Church a chance to breathe as we head into the new year together. Today, we're going to reflect on one of the most profound expressions of hope in the midst of despair found in the entire Bible, from the book of Lamentations. Lamentations is found in the Hebrew Scriptures, and it was written in the context of Jerusalem's destruction by the Babylonians. It's a book filled with grief, yet within the pain, there's a remarkable demonstration of God's enduring faithfulness. Chapter 3 is a personal lament, or an expression of pain, written by the prophet Jeremiah, expressing the deep human suffering, but also highlighting moments of divine compassion. Jeremiah is sometimes referred to as the weeping prophet because of his familiarity with pain in his life and the nation of Israel. Let's turn to Lamentations chapter 3 together. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Imagine the scene. Jerusalem lies in ruins, the temple destroyed, the people scattered or enslaved. In the midst of this unthinkable suffering, Jeremiah finds hope, not in the immediate circumstances, but in the character of God. I want to highlight 4 aspects of God's character from these 2 verses alone to take with you into the new year. First, God's love. Despite the destruction, Jeremiah acknowledges that God's love has preserved them. Even when everything and everyone else fails, God's love does not. It's this love that prevents us from being consumed by our trials as well. Next is the expression of God's endless compassion. His compassion never fails. No matter how dark the night, God's compassion is fresh every morning. This isn't just about surviving, it's about thriving in God's new mercies every single day, because you live in anticipation that the reservoir of hope in you is being refilled day by day. Speaking of that, third, we see God's daily renewal. New every morning, it speaks to a life of daily renewal. Every day is a new opportunity to experience God's grace, to start again, to find strength where it may feel depleted from the day before. And finally, God's faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness. In a world where everything can change, God's faithfulness remains consistent. This is our anchor, our hope. For some of you, this year has brought unthinkable change in your life, and you are still trying to come to grips with the implications of the change. For others, it's about the unsustainable pace that you know is waiting for you back at the office, in the classroom, or around the kitchen table. What we find in Jeremiah is that there is hope for change, and we can ask for help from God and people without fear of letting God down. As we reflect on our year, we might see moments of darkness, of loss, or of pain, but like Jeremiah, we can also see where God's love has sustained us if we look, where his compassion has been new every morning, guiding us through. Maybe you faced personal losses, health issues, uncertainties, yet here you are. You made it, not consumed, because of the Lord's great love and kindness. This passage invites us to look beyond our immediate circumstances to the unchanging nature of God. A recent song illustrates an important idea that you might need new mercy, but it comes from the same God. In that song, Same God, there is a lyric that has stuck with me. The lyric says, "I'm calling on the God of Mary, whose favor rests upon the lowly. I know with you all things are possible." We just finished celebrating Christmas, and the same God that saw and used this young girl is still pursuing you today. Let's not forget that as we begin a new year together. As we remember the good news of Jesus that is epitomized in this helpless baby 2,000 years ago, coming to live a perfect life on your behalf, die the death that we all deserve, come back from the grave, and ultimately ascend to the heavens, where you and I join God in this kingdom work. So no matter what the last year's looked like, not only is the mercy new every morning, it's new every year. So no matter what 2024 has looked like for you, let's pray together for what God has for us in 2025. God, thank you so much. Thank you for the gift of the stories of people we got to sit with and so many more that they represent at Menlo. Thank you for the incredible hope that you have given us, that you are still working in us and through us. Would you help each one of us, God, to see and hear you in fresh ways in the coming days, to be able to understand what you are calling us to lean into, no matter what obstacles we see coming or what ones we don't. Help us to hang on to these ideas from the prophet Jeremiah, preserved for thousands of years, that 2025, God, would be the best year yet as we pursue you, no matter the circumstances. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thanks so much, Menlo Church, and Happy New Year.
Thanks so much for being with us today, and we hope that you had a meaningful time reminiscing on the ways that God had brought hope to us this past year through the work that he's done in Menlo Church. We cannot wait to see what 2025 brings and hope for you to make Menlo part of your next year.
Join us next week as we kick off our new series, Startup Faith. Together, we'll imagine a world filled with more hope than heartache. Each week, we'll explore the parallels between the early church's growth and the modern-day startup world, discovering what unfolds when someone says yes to a life of faith. So please do not miss it.
Don't miss it. We are so excited for that. So thanks again for joining us today. And if you need any prayer or encouragement this week, you can reach out to our online team at 650-600-0402. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you in person or online for the first service of 2025.
Yes.